and it unfurls its, like, I don't know, it's like neck flaps, chat. It's vagina like, it's snake vagina flaps or something, and it's going. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content in my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video.
Big things have small beginnings.
Yes. Absolute pleasure to have you here, guys. But yeah, we are going to be doing my Prometheus review, and then we're going to be moving on to some Resident Evil Village gameplay, followed by some Jackbox Party Pack multiplayer shenanigans. It'll be fun. Any wine today? No wine right now. No wine yet. It's a little bit of seltzer water. It's quite good. Gotta wet my whistle while I review this movie for you guys. But chat, before I get into the nitty-gritty details of my scene-by-scene breakdown of Prometheus, I have to ask you a very important question. That question being, how many of you have seen Ridley Scott's 2012 sci-fi horror film, Prometheus, chat? I am curious. Helmberger, I have not. I'm a big seltzer water fan. I can't help it. I like it. It's good. It's healthier than soda. Alex says, me. DDR Slater has seen plenty of reviews. It's a pretentious mess. Already, nope, but the reviewers gave me the gist. Brandon, I've seen pieces, like 60%. Okay, so you've seen the majority of the movie. That's good. Yeah. What about the rest of you guys? Numbers Everybody says, nope. I haven't. I have not. Drew Rascal says, nope. Tart says, I have. So we got a good mix of people in here, chat. Those who've seen it, those who have not seen it. Nice. Landley, breakdown is appropriate for this. Oh, yes, it is. In more ways than one. Logic breaks down. Characters break down. I was really excited for Prometheus. And then when it ended, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Kind of right there with you. Where? Seen it, wish it wasn't made. The Roguish Bard. I have, and it's one of my fave to hear people review this mess. Lately, I watched after everyone else did. Okay, so maybe one of some good expectations, and so you know after everyone sees it, it's like, wait, what? Or maybe you liked it. Movie Bus, I saw a high budget sci-fi think piece. I don't know if it was Prometheus. It's about right. Tivo says, I've not seen it. A Lost Miracle. I really like Damon Lindelof, especially after Lost and Leftovers, but didn't care for this. Yeah, he did do a draft of the script, which is what I guess what they primarily went with. I think Jonathan, what's his name? Spates, who apparently writes every fucking movie in Hollywood. I've always seen that guy. John Spates also did a draft, and Damon Lindelof did a rewrite of John Spates, but they're both credited as the screenwriter for it. But I know that Damon Lindelof, he had the final script for the thing. Damon Lindelof, as Alex pointed out, I mean, yes, some co-creative Lost, wrote Lost. Most recently did the HBO Watchmen series, which I actually really like. I thought it was really, really good. And also, yeah, did The Leftovers, which I've never seen, but I heard good things about. At that point, I saw Prometheus in theaters opening night. I liked it, still like it. Next movie can fuck itself. Covenant, which I will someday review Alien Covenant. Don't you worry. Willis Venture. Hey, gang, good to see you, Willis Venture. Hope you're doing very well. Alec, the story doesn't belong in an Alien movie. Tart, I watched this mostly for Fassbender. I also got to see Prometheus on opening night as Reynolds Venture. Watchmen is fantastic. Reynolds Venture, I liked it. Not the best, but it's okay. I do like Fassbender. So this is good. We got a good, again, Chad, very similar to last night. Actually, for all the Alien films I'm reviewing this week, got a good mix of people, good group of people who have either seen it or have not seen it or maybe seen parts of it. So that's nice. Yes, Chad, I have seen this movie. Last time I watched it was originally in theaters, chat, back in 2012. And let's just turn the clocks back, chat. Let me just set up the setting for Prometheus, chat, before this movie was released. Of course, yes, we had Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection in the 90s, and not very well-liked movies. Each one made less money than the other, chat. Alien 3 did not make nearly as much as Aliens, was not as beloved as something like Aliens. Then you had Alien 4, where like, okay, we're going to give the characters a proper ending, and that made even less money. And it's kind of like a debate, like, which movie is worse. I don't know. It's like, I couldn't even, like, when I did my reviews for both of them, I give them both low, some old bullshit. They have so many problems, chat, and just inferior products compared to the first two movies. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, you could pick either one to say that's worse. I'd be like, sure. Neither of them are good. And Fox was like, well, Alien franchise seems to be running dry. However, what if we add a new element and they decide to do the Alien vs. Predator movies, Chad, in the mid-2000s? Famously, Ridley Scott and James Cameron, before AVP was made by Thomas Anderson, said, no, we want to get back involved with the franchise, but we're asking you to do our own movies in that franchise, but we're asking you not to do these AVP films. Fox ignored them, and they proceeded with Paul Thomas Anderson to make the first film. And so whatever that James Cameron, Ridley Scott project was going to be, we don't know. They did want to both get back in the franchise. Now, it would have been really cool to see, especially because, Ridley Scott, obviously, he's not the filmmaker he once was. And James Cameron, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Avatar, like, he's always that director that kind of proves everybody around. Did that with Titanic, where, people like, this movie it's never not going to make any money. It's going to be a huge commercial disaster. And became the highest grossing film of all time. And relatively pretty good reviews. Avatar, despite what you think of it, chat, it's like a matinee movie. I think it's fine. Beautiful looking film, but the story and the characters I don't care about. But still, everyone's like, there's no way this movie is going to be a commercial success. And he did it again, chat. Made the highest grossing movie of all time. So it would have been interesting to see what Cameron could have done coming back to the franchise. But we never got that with Scott or Cameron in those 2000s. We got AVP, which was a success, was a commercial success for Paul Thomas Anderson and Fox, and then they moved on to AVP Requiem, which was not nearly as successful as the original Alien vs. Predator, and it's an awful movie. Among both franchises, I would say, like, I'm not, like, the worst Alien movie, we can have a debate, worst Predator movie, I think it's The Predator, but if you combine both franchises, I really do think you can easily say Alien vs. Predator Requiem is the absolute dog shit. The absolute worst of either franchise, chat. So, and then the properties were in flux. I think then you had like Predators come out for the Predator franchise, I think around like 2010, 2011. I feel like it was around that time. But the Alien franchise was very dormant. And this is when Fox, they went back to Ridley Scott and they said, hey, let's do something. He had an idea, Chad, and his idea was, I want to create a movie within the Alien and Blade Runner universe. Because both Alien and Blade Runner take place within this universe, Chad. Blade Runner takes place in the past, but it's still set during that time, which was always fascinating to me, along with Paul Thomas Anderson's Soldier film, which I always thought was really, really cool. And like everyone, I was really excited that Ridley Scott was coming back to this franchise. Even at the time, there were warning signs where he, throughout the 2000s, he was very hit and miss. Like, even at this point, I think, like, his last great film before he did Prometheus was Gladiator, which is great. But after that, I was like, yeah, just not a big fan of a lot of his work. But I was like, hey, this is the guy who made the original Alien, chat, one of my favorite films of all time. What could go wrong? I asked, what could possibly go wrong? And then we started to hear more news about, like, well, he's not really going to do it with the aliens. It's going to be alien-related, and we're going to explore the engineers, chat, or the space jockeys that we saw in the beginning of Alien, at least a mummified corpse of one. So if you don't remember, chat, and when Ripley and the crew of the Nostromo, they land on LV-426, they go to the giant donut ship, and inside the donut, chat, they find this kind of mummified corpse of this very large, almost elephant-like looking alien sitting in what looks to be like a cockpit. And they're like, well, what the fuck is that? And they don't know, because by that point, goddamn Lieutenant Kane has got like a baby inside of his tummy, and they got to get him back to the Nostromo, chat. And so we didn't have time to think about like what the hell went down. That Ridley Scott says, I want to explore that elephant man and his culture, and he wanted like a big point a big point that he wanted to dive into with his new Prometheus films or series. It's morphed over time to be different, a new thing now. Who knows what it is? But originally he said, I want to explore the origins of humanity and where we came from and who our creators were and whether they regretted creating us. And it's like, okay, that's all right. I mean, that's not really what fans want. I mean, well, it's, we want an alien movie again. We want you to go back and try to recreate that. Or try to make one nearly as good or if not better. But hey, it's Ridley Scott. He's returning this franchise. Who knows this franchise better than Ridley Scott? And I was so excited for this film. The trailer, that fucking trailer is excellent shit where they have the bring back like that a little bit of that original Alien score. It was so unsettling and creepy, but also has like some action. So it's like, ooh, it's bringing maybe some of that James Cameron action to it. Has a hell of a fucking cast, Jack. Noomi Rapace, Michael Fassbender, Guy Pearce, Idris Elba, Charlize Theron. It's like, oh my God, he's got nothing to fucking sneeze at. Here we go. I'm like, what? Again, what could go wrong? And what we got, chat, sadly, was a disappointing mess of the film. Where, yes, it's very beautiful to look at. There's no doubt about that. Excellent cinematography, really good. Score by Mark Streitenfeld, chat. But outside of that, it's a film that suffers from horrible writing, unlikable, mean, like really mean, awful characters for the most part, and just a kind of like a muddled story. It's like, okay, we're learning, like, it's the kind of thing, it's like, we're going to explore the origins of humanity, and we're like, oh, that's going to be cool. But it really isn't, because there's no questions that are really answered in the film. Like, why did they create us? Yeah, because they could. That's it. That's disappointing. If you're just like, they did it because they wanted to. That is disappointing. I need more than that. And that's the biggest thing, I think. Ridley Scott, I've talked about this before in my other Alien reviews, chat. Check out my reviews for Alien and Aliens especially, where Ridley Scott, he clearly, with the Alien franchise, he wants to over-explain everything in the mythology. Like I said, it's fun to speculate in regards to the original Alien, like where it came from. What was this mummified space jockey engineer? What was its purpose? It's fun to think of that, oh, maybe the aliens were bred for warfare. Maybe they're like a biological weapon. Maybe they're like the equivalent of weapon of mass destruction, like a nuclear bomb or something. Like, that's cool. I think that's cool to think about that, but have it not spelled out for you. It's like by the time we're gone, we're off LV-426 after what happens to Lieutenant Kane, and we're out of there, so we don't even have time to think or explore those questions, because when you start to over-explain and explore, it's the prequel effect where it's like, oh, really? That's what it is? And it becomes dumb. When we find out that the origins of the alien are related to black goop and a very over-curious Michael Fassbender, it's like, that's really it? That's where they came from? You're disappointed. And Deadpool, you nailed it. Some questions shouldn't be answered. They don't need to be answered. And when you have an air of mystery to something, that keeps us exciting. It keeps it very exciting for fans. And they'll always speculate and they'll always create fan videos and things like, say enough, but don't say too much, because you're going to undercut your mythology and your original creation. And that's what Prometheus does. It undercuts Alien, it undercuts the franchise, and it just gives us something that we don't want, filled with characters who make awful, horrible decisions. Not to say that this film has bad stuff throughout it. Even though I think the character becomes ridiculous in the sequel in Alien Covenant, I really do like Michael Fassbender's character of David. He's interesting, he's weird, he's creepy. I mean, you like him, but are also intimidated by him. Like, he's the most interesting person in the film, clearly. I mean, Michael Fassbender looked like he was having a lot of fun in this role, because everyone else is just disposable meat in this movie, and you don't know anyone's name. And I was like, who is that? Who just died? There's a lot of people that die in this film, and you feel nothing for them. Nothing. It's not like when you think of the original Alien movie, when you're through the crew of the Nostromo, these poor fucking blue-collar workers, space truckers, they're just trying to get a job done. They can go back home, be with their family, spend that money and things, But like when Brett dies, when Dallas dies, when Yaphet Kotto's Parker dies or whatever, you feel something. It's like, oh my God, the situation's off. I feel so bad for these characters. You feel something. In Aliens, when when Hudson gets pulled under the fucking grate and is eviscerated by the aliens and is taken out of sight, when Vasquez decides to blow herself up with Gorman, commit suicide so the other characters can run, you felt something. You don't give a shit about any of these people. And matter of fact, when they do die, you're like, you fucking deserve that. You deserve it because you did something so stupid. Don't touch that. For the love of God, don't touch it. Apparently, in Ridley Scott's world, scientists are the dumbest people, chat, in this universe. If you a blue collar space trucker, a colonial marine, an engineer, these people are way more intelligent, have way more street smarts. They're far more savvy than these scientists who are experts in their field of geology and biology and xenotology, whatever the fuck. They're clearly scientists are the dumbest characters in this franchise. It is nuts to me that you've managed to create some of the worst characters, which we've gotten so many. So many poorly written. I've already talked about Alien 3 and Alien 4 this week. So this franchise has a lot of stinkers. But man, from the original guy, created some of the most annoying, reprehensible characters in the franchise. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Look, I was thinking to me, the explanation of aliens being used by predators to breed and hunt them was an explanation that BS that was in this. I agreed. Thoroughly agree with you. Yep. This is Numi Pace's first non-European film, and boy, did Scott pull her down to see. She did. Yeah, I think he did. In fact, a lot of people's careers, in my opinion. Strangers, you think of this. And then pregnancy time. Good evening, all. Good to see you, strangers. There's gonna be many prego tummies in this movie, chat. We're gonna talk about it, but yeah, movie came out and it felt like mixed to positive reviews, but I think since its release and the nearly 10 years that it's been out there in the pop culture zeitgeist, opinions have really soured on this. I think initially people were just so excited and they wanted a good Alien movie. I mean, I get that, I get that. I love the first two movies. Alien's like in my top 3, maybe top 5, top 3 movies of all time. Movie is fantastic. And like everyone, I wanted another good Alien film because it's been nearly 40 fucking years since we got that. 1986, chat, was the last good cinematic Alien movie. We're hungry for it. And, I wanted this movie to be good, and I felt like, a lot of people want to be positive about it, but in the years since, like, you know what the phrase is? You've heard this, Jay. You've heard this. Those guys pulled a Prometheus. And that phrase, that term, is usually referencing when a character does something really, really stupid or touches something they shouldn't touch. That's where that came from. It's synonymous with, like, jumping the shark. And that's sad. It's disappointing, chat. And it continued on with Alien Covenant, which I'll get that. Maybe I'll review that next week. Maybe I'll be like, what, fuck it. I think probably next week, chat, next Monday, I'm just going to go ahead, bite the bullet. I'm going to review. I'm going to do a scene by scene of Alien Covenant as well, just to complete the Alien franchise and just get them all done under my belt, chat. But for now, I guess like Prometheus, it did rather well initially. It had about a budget of 130 million. Respectable box office, about 403.4, so it made its money back. It did well enough. I'm sure it did well on VOD too. But yeah, I just think its reputation has just soured over the last decade, Chan. And for me, good reason. I mean, I understand. Listen, there's some stuff to appreciate about this film. I know there's some people that really do like that. Actually, do like this movie, and it's like, hey, more power to you. Just for myself, I'm just not a big fan personally, chap. But we gotta go ahead. I gotta wet my whistle, chat, before we go ahead and get going. We've been doing a lot of talking, but we gotta go ahead and start from the top, chat. We start with some beautiful looking cinematography. Like we're on what looks like a primeval Earth, a primordial Earth, chat. It's all covered in blue and gray clouds and mist and fog. Apparently, they filmed a lot of this movie in Iceland. You can tell, chat. I guess Iceland looks primordial, and it's gorgeous. The cinematography is wow. I'm like, this is a good way to start. You get this kind of triumphant. It's not really a creepy score, but this very triumphant-esque score, but it's kind of filled with mystery. I'm like, I'm digging this. And then we see a 7-foot-tall, pale white man who is just shirt-cocking it. He's just, by this waterfall, chat, and we see this huge fucking, like, almost like rock. It looks like a smooth rock. I guess it's like a saucer, an alien saucer right above him, and he just waves and goes, "See you later, guys." We're like, bye, and they peace the fuck out. Blackstone, thank you so much for resubscribing. Great salutations. 7 months. Time flies. 2 months away from pooping out that Twitch baby. Thank you, Blackstone. We're talking about the very tall, very pale alien who is currently shirt-cocking it by a waterfall as his friends peace out from a primeval Earth, a primordial Earth. And so those aliens leave. And the pale alien man, he has like a little, I don't know, thermos of black goop, and he unscrews it, chat, and we see it's just got a ton of black goop, and he's like, all right, bottoms up, baby, and he chugs that shit all the way down, but apparently it doesn't sit well with his tummy, chat, and he gets like some of the worst bubbly guts you've ever seen in the world, chat, because it starts to fucking melt him. He's like, and he dies. And he falls into the water, chat, and he falls down the waterfall, and he gets down to, like, I guess the riverbed, and his body dissolves, and his head falls off and shit. We see, like, the little, on a microscopic DNA level, chat, as his sweet, sweet essence spreads across the earth. And it's like, oh, and we see it like cells, and we see cells multiplying, chat. And so it's like, oh, okay, so there was like no life on earth or whatever, but he created like humanity. This is where we spawned from, chat. So we imagine this is what, millions, tens of millions of years ago, or a long fucking time. Tens of millions of years ago, chat. Here we fucking go. I guess hundreds of millions of years ago. And these things, I mean, we are birthed. We came from answering the question. It's like literally just, it answers the question the first 5 minutes. Where we come from? These weird, pale, giant engineer aliens. One of their guys got the bubbly guts, shat everything out of himself, and we came from the poop. We are literally alien poop. That's what we are. We're poopy people. And then we then cut. And we're now in Scotland in 2080. Now, this is one of my issues with the movie so far. So this takes place in the Alien universe, which also takes place in the Blade Runner universe. They share the same universe. Now, we have seen Blade Runner 2019. We have seen, that's where the original Blade Runner takes place. We've seen Blade Runner 2049. And Earth is just fucked. Like, it's gross looking. Like, we've been to LA, California. The American Southwest is just, it's not great. Okay, it's rain all the time, nuclear winters everywhere. I mean, you remember, for those of you who've seen it, it's like it's everything's covered, the entire continent is covered in trash, and yet here it takes place in 2080. So it's about 31 years in the future from Blade Runner 2049. And I'm like, everything's like really clean. Now we're in Scotland, so maybe in the UK and the Scottish are maybe the Scots have become the most advanced civilization in the world. Maybe that could be it, chat. I don't know. But everything's look really clean and pristine. And it's like, it's a little advanced, but not like Blade Runner-esque advanced. And so I'm really confused. Like, there's no consistency here. And that's one of my big complaints about this movie. There's no aesthetic consistency with the original Blade Runner film or the first two, or just the Alien franchise. Let's just say the first two Alien movies. And I was like, it just really just took me out of it first. I was like, okay, 2080, all right. Sure. But we're introduced to two characters, chat. Noomi Rapace, whose characters, I don't know her fucking name. We're calling Noomi Rapace. She's Dr. Rapace, chat. Noomi Rapace. And she has her boyfriend, Dr. Charles. Good old Charlie, chat. I think his name is Holloway. We're going to call him Dr. Charlie, chat. And they are in Scotland, and they've spent their entire lives investigating these civilizations that apparently have had contact with aliens. Noomi Rapace, she's breaking through like this big cave, and she finds these cave paintings, and she calls her husband over like, Jesus, found something. And he's like, oh, cool. And he runs over there, and they go inside, and we find these ancient cave paintings, chat, that date back like, I don't know, 10,000 plus years ago or something. And they end, like, there's this one last painting that we end on, and it's this figure who's reaching up into the sky, and we see these, like, little orbs, these, like, little circles that have been colored in, and they're going, that's proof of aliens right there. And he's like, yep, it's an invitation. How do you even, he's other Tom Hardy, how do you even know? How do you even know that's an invitation? Like, what about that? It's like, oh, yeah, they're inviting us. Actually, they explain. They actually do explain why they think it's an invitation, and it's so stupid. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that soon. They're like, oh, it's just like the others. It's an invitation. And then immediately cut. We immediately cut from 2080 And it's now the year 2093, Chad. And we get to like kind of like the coolest part of the movie because we're introduced to the character of David, Chad. We're on the ship, the Prometheus. That's what the movie's named after, chap. It's Prometheus, you know, the Greek god who gave fire to humanity, and he was punished for his gift to humanity because he wanted to make humanity as powerful as the gods. And Zeus says, fuck that. We're not going to give these mud people fire. Look what you did. Look what you did. And he's very upset of it. And then he's got his like fucking liver feasted on by like crows and shit. Not great. Deadpool the Contamination, it feels like Ridley Scott wanted to make a sci-fi movie and the studio pressured him into shooting. Oh, it did. They did pressure him to put more alien stuff in this, especially at the end of the movie. We'll get to that. But you're right. And eventually that's what he capitulated to the fans because they're like, we want more aliens. He made Covenant, and it's just as bad, if not worse, than Prometheus. So it's like, fuck, no one wins. No one wins. But we are now on board the Prometheus chat on a specific journey in the year 2093. Apparently, it's been going towards this unknown location, or this specific location for the past like 2.5 years. And we're introduced to the character of David, chat. Now, when we get to David in Covenant, he's fucking ridiculous. But I will say, Michael Fassbender kills it in this movie. He's so charming. He plays a robot, android, synthetic person so well. He's funny. His interactions with other people, like the lines he uses are like ominous, but also like, oh, I get what he did there. He's a really cool character. Yeah, I appreciate him. He's the only one I care. Even though he does, like, that's a crazy thing. Even though he's pretty much one of the villains of the movie, like, I hope nothing happens to David because he's just so interesting to just follow. And even here, he's been living his life in the Prometheus for 2.5 years. He has his duties. He checks on all the stupid, miserable scientist people, make sure that they're okay, that they didn't die. You know, and you know, as they travel to the planet's called LV-223. So this is not LV-426. It's LV-223, chap. A lot of people speculated because of the alien ship and stuff, but different world, just happens to have more donut U ships on it. But he does his fucking daily errands, and then we get to we get to see just a little slice of life with Dave, and it's really fascinating. Where, you know, he's watching like his favorite movies. Probably not great that he's watching a whole bunch of British films about colonizing Africa. It's like, oh, I can kind of see what went wrong with him. I was like, oh, this is probably not great. This is not good. And he's quoting like all these, you know, colonizers and things. It's like, oh. This is probably why he's like, I want to create a superior species and kill all the meatbags that are around me all the time. I just can't help myself. Not the best filmography that they picked for him, chat. But he's just fucking eating his food, because he eats too. He eats food. He's eating this like porridge shit, and he's, you know, drinking wine and stuff, and he's watching these movies, and he dyes his hair like this super bleach blonde and everything. But it's like it's cool to see like this little slice of life. He plays basketball a lot. Another basketball. Chat, what is it with basketball in the Alien franchise? Like Alien Resurrection had a whole basketball scene. He's playing basketball, but he does it cool because he's like riding a bike, but then he's like making all these baskets at the same time. So he's kind of like a fucking badass, chat. But eventually he's having fun. He really likes his life on the ship. He's studying alien languages, chat, like ancient Sumerian things, because, you know, apparently where they're going, the language of the engineers, as they're called later on, is similar to like ancient Sumerian, all these other cultures. And he's like, I want to be able to understand these languages so I can potentially read whatever, if we find, you know, artifacts or things, or if we actually encounter these beings, I can communicate with them. So that's what he functions as, Chad, as a communicator and helper and personal assistant to another character. We'll get to that in a bit. But it's cool to see this little slice of life with him. Eventually, though, the ship's going wee woo, and they've made it to LV-223, Chad. Oh boy, this is great. This is great. And so he goes and he finds all these people just being like really fucking intense, just vomiting up all this stuff, Chad. Gross. They're all leaking everything everywhere because they're like, I guess the cryo technology is not as good as it is in Alien, and everyone's very wet and moist. We see Charlize Theron has dragged herself out of her tube, and she's just fucking like doing push-ups and don't give me vodka, and he's like, okay, and he makes like her a vodka, and she downs it, and she's now, get the fuck out of here. So like, oh, okay, everyone's really nice so far. Thank you. We got a new follower here, Chad. Thank you, Brasden W, for the follow. Hope you're enjoying the review, my friend. But we're introduced to the rest of the crew, chat. We see Numi Rapace. She has the bubbly gut. She's not one for cryo travel at this point. She's just constantly vomiting, and David's trying to help her out, trying to accommodate her and things, comfort her while she just vomits her guts out. And Charlie, who's just not near his wife, just, "You got it, honey. We made it. Everything's good. Everything's going great. No worries about it." Then later on we cut and we're down the mess hall where everyone's getting like a shit ton of food and breakfast and things. There's all like this healthy food and things. And none of that looks good. It looks all gross. And we're just introduced to a whole bunch of disposable characters that literally mean nothing. They're just meat. They're just meat they're just meat that we're going to that's sent out there to be slaughtered, chat. Lambs to the slaughter, if you will. We introduced this one character who's a biologist, and he goes up to this one guy. The geologist like, "Hi, how you doing? I'm the biologist here." And the geologist guy is a Scot. He's very Scottish, and apparently, chat, in the future, all Scottish people are mean. That is a fact, chat. So if you have to be Scottish, if you're British in this movie, you're evil, okay? And if you're Scottish, you're just plain mean. That's just how it is. And so the geologist is like, "Fuck you. I want to drink I don't know what the hell he's drinking. It looks like cranberry sauce, and he's just downing like a whole bowl of cranberry sauce. And he's, "I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to drink cranberry sauce and rocks." He's all about them rocks. So he's like, "Fuck off. I'm here to make money." He's like, all right. We then cut to Idris Elba is in this movie, chat, and he is criminally underused. He's the captain of the Prometheus, and for whatever reason, like, Idris Elba is a very talented actor. There's no doubt about it, and he can do an American accent. Shit, famously did like a Baltimore, Maryland accent in The Wire, but they have him with a southeast kind of like southern accent, and it is just really, really awkward. It's like, that doesn't sound like your real voice at all. It's just like, just go. Why couldn't they just make him Cockney? Can you imagine like Idris Elba in a fucking alien movie? He sounds like this. Oh, like, that would have been great. But for whatever reason, they gave him a southeast accent or a southern accent, and it just doesn't sound right. And he's like decorating a Christmas tree, and Charlize Theron's like, "I hate Christmas." What did I tell you? Shit, everyone's mean. And she's like, "I hate Christmas, and I hate Christmas trees." And he's like, "Well, it's my ship, and I like Christmas, and I like Christmas trees." She's like, "I hate you. I hate you." But does she hate him, chat? Or does she want to fuck him? We shall see. But we then cut from that. And we are now in the cargo hold where there's going to be a presentation. And we're introduced to Charlize Theron. She's like, "Hello, my name is Charlize Theron." She goes by the name Vickers, but I'm going to call her Charlize Theron for the sake of convenience. And she's like, "I have requested, I'm glad to see that the people I've requested are still alive and here. And the rest of you who I did not," she's like, I like these people, but I fucking hate the rest of you." I'm like, why is everyone so, this is a major mission where we're possibly going to discover alien life. Probably not great to start off being such a dick to everyone else. But that's what, no one's happy. No one's happy. No one has like an air of like whimsy and like, "Oh, guys, we're in this together. Like, this is for humanity. We're gonna discover origins." Everyone's like, "No, fuck you. I want money." And it's like, okay. And so she's like, "I like you guys. I don't like you guys. The guys I don't like, you're going to follow my orders." Meanwhile, here is a CGI hologram of Guy Pearce. And this is when I'm like, what is happening? Because the aesthetic of the Alien franchise, it's this very lived in, very gritty, very dark future where everything has big fucking buttons. Everything's covered in a layer of grease and grime. And yet with this movie, it's the prequel effect. So it's like, I'm telling you, like, the aesthetic is odd to me, where everything is fucking pristine. Everything's a touch screen. Everything's a hologram. And there is no consistency in this. He suffers from the same problem that George Lucas suffers from and Steven Spielberg suffers from, where they forgot the aesthetics of their own movies. And this is the case of Prometheus. And because there's this huge hologram that shows up where we see Guy Pearce in some of the worst old man makeup I have ever seen. He looks like a ghoul. He's like, "Ah," and he waddles up and he's like, I want to thank all of you for joining me here. In case you don't know, I've recorded this message 2.5 years ago and I am now dead. That's an important plot point. But I want to thank you. This cost me $10 billion, and I'm so happy to have you out here. Now, Rumi Rapace and Charlie, get up here and explain the plot. And then he waddles away. It's like, okay, he looks ripe. He looks very ripe. I feel like if I would poke him, my finger would go right through his flesh. He looks like a fucking zombie. But he waddles away back to his hologram world. He looks like the wheelchair. Oh, he looks like David Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, like Tyler Perry level makeup. Just like, this looks awful. But he waddles back into his hologram world and he's like, okay. And then Charlie's like, well, that was fucking weird to follow up a ghost. But all right, guys, so here's a whole bunch of hologram images of cave paintings. And he's like, do you guys notice anything? They're like, no. He says, they're all pointing at little, like, circles in the sky. And they're going, okay, right. And he said, all these different civilizations, whether they were from North America, South America, Asia, or Europe, or Africa, civilizations that would never have interacted with each other at all, were incapable of doing so, they all had the same thing written on the cave wall, and they all put them together, and the balls, the little colored circles, were all in the same exact place. And and we believe it's a map. It's a map to a system that we are currently now in. And one of the people's like raises their hands and are going, okay, that's fine. So you mapped it out and you figured out this is where we were. But what do you think this is? It's a map, but what is a map to? And then Numi Rapace, she comes in, she goes, it's an invitation. And he's like, based on what? And that's an excellent fucking question, chat. Like, based on those circles, how do you know this is an invitation? And she goes, and she's a scientist, and she says, I just believe it is. I have faith. I'm a woman of faith, and I just believe that it was an invitation. So they're just going on faith, chat. You gotta have faith, and it's like, really? Okay, all right, sure. Also, at one point, I forgot to say, when Guy Pearce was waddling around, he was talking about David, and he's like, that's David. He's an android. He's the closest thing I had to a son, but he's not my son because he doesn't have a soul, and I'm never going to let him forget it. And you can even see on Michael Fassbender's face, because he's like, oh, that's basically my dad. And he warms. You can even see David kind of warm when he says, like, warm up to the fact that Guy Pearce tells him, like, that's basically my son. But then when he says he doesn't have a soul, you just notice, like, the subtlest, like, fuck you, old man, coming from David, which I think was very interesting. She's just like, I got a vibe. I got faith vibes. And everyone's like, well, I better fucking hope we're here for a good reason. And so it's like, all right, meeting dismissed, chat. Meeting dismissed. And they, after their PowerPoint presentation. Oh, they also talk about the engineers, and they're going, so what do you believe this is a map to? It's like, it's a map to our creators, which we have started calling engineers. They engineered us. We believe we are the poop that came out of the very pale man from the beginning of the movie. And they're like, okay, sure. Eventually, after that wonderful meeting, chat, like, there's a lot of other characters in this film. Like, B.D. Wan, a very young-looking, skinny-looking B.D. Wan, not B.D. Wan, Benedict Wan. Again, my Wan's confused, chat. Benedict Wan, he's in this movie as one of the co-pilots of the Prometheus, chat. He barely gets anything to fucking say. Like, his role is, like, he's constantly, like, making bets with this other co-pilot. And they're like going back and forth. You think that guy's gonna die? You think they'll be able to breathe in that thing? Like, that's all they do. That's everything. Like, you got all these talented actors, and you literally do nothing with them in the movie. Also, something really fucked up happens with those three people, chat. So I'm just gonna put this in your head. I'm gonna put a pin in this for a second. We're gonna get back to it. But the pilots of the ship are a black man, an Asian man, and a Hispanic man. What do you think is going to happen to him, chat? Find out from an hour from now. Anyway, we transition from that, and Charlize Theron wants to talk with Noomi Rapace and good old Dr. Charlie. And they go to her life pod, which is super fucking fancy. Like her quarters, chat. It's beautiful. They go inside there. It's like, oh my God, it's great. David's there. He's like, hey, do you guys want a drink? I'll make you a drink. And they go, we're not sure. But Noomi Rapace is like, oh my God, I need to go into this room because I see something really cool that is definitely going to be foreshadowing something. And she goes in this giant like medical wing, where it has this giant, like, surgery pod. She's like, a surgery pod. I've heard there's only 12 of these of existence, but for some reason, it's coded to a male subject, not a female subject. And then Charlize Theron walks in. She goes, hey, Noomi Rapace, stay away from the medical pod. She's like, hey, I just have a question. These are your quarters, correct? Why does the medical pod coded to that of a male, the male's physiology? Charlize Theron's like, I'm not going to talk about that right now. I want to talk about you guys. And she's like, listen, I think you're all pieces of shit, all right? My dad hired you for this job. I don't believe in this job. I think this is all bullshit. I just want to continue to run the Wayland. It's not Wayland-Yutani yet. The merger hasn't happened. She's like, I just want to run the Wayland Corporation, okay? And get Tyrell off her back for right now. And Jared Leto is really creepy. And they're like, well, why do you want, then why did you join us? And she's like, I want to make sure my father's assets are treated with respect. Okay, I can't have our good name being ruined by this foolhardy, journey and mission of his. And they're like, okay, well, I'm glad we were at least understand each other. She's like, yeah, great. Now get the fuck out of my room. And then David makes her like a vodka, like a pure vodka martini, and she just downs it, and she goes, get out of my fucking face, Dave. And he's like, yes, Mom. And it's like, wow, I'm feeling so much warmth from all these characters at this point. Eventually, we cut to LV-223. I believe it's LV-223, and they're in the atmosphere chat, and they're at the front, and they're touching all these touch screens and everything. Beep bop, boop, and like Idris Elba, who with a very fake Southern accent, is all right, guys. He's like, I hear your British accent coming out. Idris Elba, just go with your Cockney accent. Why this? But it's like there's a whole bunch of big old storms happening, and it's like the winds are like 200 miles per hour, so we got to cut through it, okay? And so they cut through it, chat. And there's some beautiful shots. Like, again, some cinematography is like really, really good in this movie. A lot of beautiful shots. Like, hats off. I'll give some credit. I'll give some credit to Dariusz Wolski for the cinematography. Cheers and salute to you, man. You probably, you did what you could. You did what you could. So there you go. Thank you, by the way, to Knickerbuys for the follow. You're my new Huckleberry. Hope you're doing very well. But they break through the atmosphere, chat, and they're going by all these mountains and things. And then Dr. Charlie, he notices, chat. He notices to his right, out the window of the Prometheus, what looks like a landing strip. And he goes, oh! And we see these giant pyramid, like round pyramid structures, chat. And he's like, we need to land down there. Idris Elba, let's land. And he's like, okay. And so he lands the Prometheus right next to the pyramid structures, chat. But then Idris Elba, he's like reading off the weather report because they have their antennas and sensors. He's like, okay, listen, everyone, there's like a major storm that has winds for like 200 miles per hour coming in 6 hours. Probably best to wait until the storm passes before you guys go into the pyramid. And Dr. Charlie, he's like, fuck that. No, we're going to that now. Now, again, it's like, we're on an alien world we've never been to before. Let's take every safety precaution we possibly can because we don't know what dangers could be there. But apparently these scientists are like, nah, fucking forego all that. We don't need any of that. We're scientists. We're smart. And again, chat, the enemy of this movie is not black goo. It's not weird alien zombies. It's not vagina snakes. It's not the engineers. It's not hentai monsters that lay babies inside of you. No, the true enemy is stupidity, chat. Human stupidity is the enemy of this film. And all the scientists are like, sounds good to me. And they all get up, chat, and they go down to the cargo hold because they want to go to the pyramids. Also, there's this weird thing with Charlie's character where he is really racist and hateful towards androids, and he constantly refers to David as boy. He calls him a boy, chat. I'm like, wow. And they never explain. What would have been interesting is like if they explained why Dr. Charlie is racist against androids, but that never comes up. It's like the complete opposite, chat, of Ripley and how she treats Bishop. She is so resentful and fearful of someone like Bishop because of her experience with Ash in the original Alien. So you get why she's resentful and is not trustful towards him, chat. It's like, that makes sense. But we never learn why. We never learn why Charlie is always just calling David the boy or boy this, or just like, oh, you're a fucking robot. Who cares? It doesn't make any sense. Also, there's another scientist lady named Ford in this, and she's like, yeah, this atmosphere is like really dangerous. It has high carbon dioxide. So if you don't have air, you'll be dead in 2 minutes. So it's like, oh, great. But that's like, I'm sure, but forget it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even they're saying that the atmosphere is toxic. It's like, whatever, let's go. And so they all go into the cargo hold. They all put on these big derpy helmets, and they go inside these, like, rovers and things, and they just head out towards the giant pyramid, chat. So you get the Scott guy, he's going, the Scottish man, the biologist goes, other disposable characters you don't give a shit about. They all go. They all go at this point. Oh, God. And then we get, like, a really weird, again, another awkward interaction with characters where Numi Rapace, she's like, we don't want to bring any weapons into the temple. And the mercenaries are like, are you sure you don't want us to bring any weapons? She's like, no, if we encounter our makers, the last thing I want to do is to intimidate them. Are you fucking nuts? Are you crazy? You've never been here before. How do you know they're going to be? A lot of assumptions. It's all about faith. It's all about faith with Numi Rapace's character. She's like, why do we have these weapons? Why do you have shotguns and assault rifles and flamethrowers? It's like, let's just go. Ash really, he malfunctioned. He malfunctioned in the movie. That's true. And she's like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay. But eventually they go to the pyramid, chat. And the Scottishman, chat, and the Scott, he is a geologist, and he has these amazing piece of technology where he's able to map the entire pyramid with these like drones, these little balls. And so Scotty, he throws the balls into the air, and they just go in either direction, and they start mapping out the entire inside of the pyramid. And the pyramid says, all right, this looks fucking creepy. It's all dark. It's all black. It looks like it's carved out. It's kind of got that alien-esque webbing. It's like, I don't know if we should be in here, but it starts mapping out. So I want to let you guys know. So the geologist, chat, who's in charge of mapping, he's now, okay, guys, I'm updating you constantly on the structure of the pyramid, okay? And so I'll always know where we're going. I want you to remember that. So they keep going around, they're mapping. It's the structure is absolutely huge, chat. And then they come to like an atrium area where suddenly it becomes a little warmer. It's pretty cold on the planet. It's like under like zero. It's like freezing temperatures apparently. But they come to this one area where it's slightly warmer, and according to their suit readings, it's like, oh, this is oxygen in here. It's not carbon dioxide. It's like, and this room is like creating an atmosphere within here. And they're like, well, those readings look like it's similar to Earth. Matter of fact, it looks even better than Earth's atmosphere. And Charlie's like, well, that's all I need to know. I'm going to take my helmet off. Everyone's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, who gives a shit? And I'm like, why would you've never been here before? It's like, yes, the air is breathable. Yes, this is creating some type of, breathable oxygen atmosphere, but you've never been in this before. And he just like, no, fuck it. And even his wife, even over is like, no, Charlie. And he takes off the helmet and goes, that's some good air. There could be fucking biohazards. You don't know, your technology might not be able to detect certain things in the environment that could go up your nose and things. I'm sure Charlie's going to be fine, chat. And then he's like, don't worry, guys. I can breathe. Let's all take our helmets off. And so they all take their helmets off at this point, chat. And it's like, all right. I'm sure nothing bad will happen because our helmets are off. Oh, there's another thing, too. Speaking of helmets, when they're all sitting up in the spaceship, Charlie's like, hey, David, why are you wearing a helmet? You're a robot boy. And he's like, well, I wear the helmet in order to, kind of be like you guys. So you might be off-put if I'm walking around without a helmet in this dangerous atmosphere. And he's like, that's that's funny. And he's like, it's like you're trying to be a real boy. It's like, why are you so racist against robot? It doesn't make any sense. I needed an explanation, a one-word explanation, like a sentence as to why, like, your mom was killed by them or something. Why are you like this? Because you're not. I already like David, and I don't fucking like you. But then they're walking around, and they go down this big fucking hole, Chad, and they go into another chamber. And it's very cold. I think it's like negative 12 degrees down there or something. It's like, Jesus, that's fucking cold. But they're walking around, and this is when David starts doing weird shit in the background. It's like, someone keep a fucking bell on him, because he's just going, his own way, and he's like touching things. He's touching a lot of things. And he goes to this one wall, which looks like it has a panel on it, and he sees this this green goop, which looks like alien goop, chat. And he touches it, and he's like, fascinating. And he starts pressing buttons immediately. And they're like, David, what are you doing? And then it activates these holograms, chat, and we see these engineer aliens just like, they're fucking running away from something, like, ooh, feet don't fail me now. And it's like, if I saw that, like, okay, we got to get the fuck out of here. But they're like, no, let's follow them where they're going. And so we follow these, like, 3 of them. There's 2 that are in the front, and then you got this one dumb schmuck who's in the back who's tripping over himself constantly, chat. But eventually they turn a corner, and they see the holograms go into this door, and the last one just falls down, and it's like, oh shit. And then the hologram ends, and they see the body. They see the body of this dead alien, and they're like, oh my God, holy shit. And it's like, yeah, this is crazy. This is the first time we've ever found seemingly a dead sentient alien life. And this freaks the geologist, the Scottish guy, chat, freaks him the fuck out, which I would be freaked out too. I'd be like, okay, they were clearly running from something, and he's dead now because he got decapitated. The door fell on, like, cut off his fucking head, and the head, we assume, is in the other, it's on the other side. And the Scottish guy is like, yeah, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. I don't know what the hell this is, in which he makes the right decision. He's like, I need to leave. We need to leave. Anyone want to come with me? And he's like, biologist guy who I was very mean to early in the movie. You want to come with me? He's like, yeah, fuck this. I'm a biologist, and I don't know what killed this organism. I don't know why he's running away, but, as someone who studies creatures, that fear, fight or flight, and they were running away from something that's obviously dangerous, I will join you and escape. And they leave. Then David, he's like, well, I'm curious, I'm curious about, what's behind this door. And he just starts pressing buttons. They're like, David, stop pressing buttons. But it's too late, chat. David pressed a button. He can't fucking help himself. He's like, he literally just says, I'm here to study rocks, not dead aliens. He gets really, like, in front of Numi Rapace's face. He's like, I don't give a shit about what you think or what you feel, okay? I'm getting the hell out of here. I like rocks. And he leaves. I'll go with the biologist who I guess is very scared of dead aliens. But David, he can't help himself. He's like, I'm sorry. Aren't I a stinker? He opens the big fucking door, chat, right? And it reveals it's this giant chamber. And we see this big old fucking engineer head smack dab in the middle, chat. And we're like, oh, it looks very human. And it's surrounded by these vases, chat, that we find out are filled with black goop. There's a lot of black goop, chat. At this point, Numi Rapace and Ford, they're analyzing the big old alien head. And David, again, it just goes off on his own and, like, looks at one of the vases and sees, there's, like, moisture coming on him. And he just, like, packs that shit up. Like, he notices one that, like, is kind of damaged and is leaking black goo. And he just picks up that black goo in his hand, and he looks at it, and it's got, like, little squiggly, like, wormy things in it. And he goes, fascinating. And he just kind of wipes it off, and he packs up one of the vases inside of a bag. Meanwhile, Dr. Charlie, he's like, even though this is the biggest scientific discovery in human history, he's like, this place sucks, because he's very upset that there's no living engineers here. He's like, it's not this isn't like a civilization. This isn't an installation. This is a tomb, just like all the ones back on Earth. Harumph. And he's very we see at one point, because again, nothing's explained. Which to a degree is better. But he goes up to what looks like a giant altar, and there's this green rock. Like there's no explanation as to what the big green rock is in the middle he goes to. It looks like a switch of some kind. But we see this one image, and it's of the alien. It looks like the necromorph chat in a Christ-like pose, and it's like, what the fuck's that all about? But we don't know. We don't know. And because the Idris Elba, he starts calling him. He says, hey guys, so that storm I told you about before, that's really fucking dangerous, and it's 200-mile-per-hour winds. It's gonna be here in like 15 minutes. So get your fucking keisters out there. And they're like, whoa, let's go. And so Numi Rapace and Ford, they pack up the alien head. David packs up his vial of black goop, and Charlie, he goes with him, Chad. Eventually, they all head outside. And they get on their little carts, chat, and the big old car, like this rover that they're on, and they head back to the Prometheus. And while we see this giant, massive dust storm just coming for them, chat, and it's like, oh, that's probably not good. And eventually they get to the Prometheus, chat, but as they're walking up, Numi Rapace dropped the bag with the head in it. And she's like, hold on, guys, I'm going to go get the bag. And they're like, wait, Numi Rapace. And the fucking wind just yeets her. She goes, and it just yeets her on the side of the Prometheus, while her husband, he goes out there on the fucking rover, chat, grabs her, grabs the head, and goes back inside. But they're safe, chat, thank God. Meanwhile, that's the thing, because they're like, Idris Elba, he comes down there to make sure everyone's doing okay, and Numi Rapace asks him, so where's Scotty and the biologist guy? And he goes, I thought they were with you. And then we cut back, chat, and Scotty and the biologist, Scotty, the geologist, whose job it is to map out the pyramid, got lost. You're the map guy. How did you get lost? It's your job that no one else gets lost. How did he do that? It's amazing. He's like, he didn't know what you have them. They literally have the maps on their arms. We see the stupid fucking hologram pop up, and that's how they're able to, like, oh, there's something down this way, let's go. He gets lost along with the biologist, and they come upon this giant pile of dead engineer alien bodies. And they're like, oh, they're looking at him, and the biologist looks at him, and he's observing their, like, abdomens, and he's saying, like, looks like something burst out of them. It's like, oh, the alien might have burst out of them. And it's like, that's not good. And eventually, Idris Elba calls them, and he goes, hey, guys, so I don't know how the fuck you got lost here. Maps are hard. Maps are difficult to understand. That's true. But the storm is currently on top of you guys right now, and we'll probably be able to get you in the morning. So hunker down for the next 10, 12 hours, and we'll get up there. We'll get you out soon. And he's like, hey, just help us. And he's like, you guys will be okay. Don't you worry now. You're going to be okay. And they just keep walking. They just like, oh, which way do we go now? And the geologist says, I don't know where to go. What the fuck do you mean? Anyway. We cut, and we're back on the Prometheus, and Ford and Numi Rapace are going to be doing a autopsy on the big old alien head, chat, which is actually in the space jockey mask. They don't realize that. They're scanning it, along with Michael Fassbender. Is Michael Fassbender? Yeah, I think Michael Fassbender's also there, too. And they're looking at it, they analyze it, and then Dr. Charlie comes in, and he's getting fucking hammered on champagne. He's just fucking down in champagne. He's just in the back going, oh, I'm sad because I don't meet my maker. But they're analyzing the head and shit, and they realize that it's a helmet, and David takes off the helmet for them. And then they put the head down. It's this big fucking gross head. They notice that it's got all this weird, like, moldy growths on it. It's like, what's that? And they're going, it seems to be some kind of mutation that's not related to the biomass of the head. And they're like, oh, I'm sure that's nothing, no, who cares? And then they start doing this whole thing. It's like, well, the head is so well preserved that I think we can actually turn the brain back on and make it think that it's still alive, which I guess that's a thing they can do. And they should have just fucking licked it just for the hell of it. But they put these electrodes inside of its ears, which I'm sure that the head will love that. And they start like putting like volts of electricity inside the head. And the thing like fucking wakes up. And it's all derping going, but then it starts like, the veins start popping in its head, and it's getting these weird like tumors, getting these big old tumors. And fucking, Rumi's like, shut it down, lower the voltage. She's like, I did, it's at 0. And they're like, oh god. And Charlize Theron's here. She's like, I knew you guys would fuck this up. I knew my father shouldn't have hired you. And then the head's like all expanding and getting really gross, and it's like leaking like pus and boogers and shit. And they push the head all the way back into this like little container until it pops, chat, and it's covered in brains and boogers and pus. And they're going, well, I mean, we can just analyze the brain tissue to find out what's going on with this alien. And Charlie's had enough. He fucking leaves because he is really, really upset, chat. Eventually, we cut to David, who is in the lifeboat room, and he's talking to some guy who is obviously Wayland. It's obviously Guy Pearce, but we're like, who's he talking to? We know who he's fucking talking to, movie. Why are you trying to, like, make it just a mystery? It's like he joined them on the journey, but whatever. He's like, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir. We did not encounter any living specimens as of yet. We did recover the alien. We recovered an alien head, but it seems to have been damaged. No, sir. He's like, yes, I will try to do better. I forget the line that Guy Pearce gives him. Basically, he's like, be more proactive. And David like, okay, so that means be evil. So basically what Guy Pearce is like, okay, David, I want you to be like really evil and start fucking with the crew. And then he's like touching the escape pod, like loving and like, oh, Father, I'll take care of you. And then he leaves. But it's obvious what's fucking going on. That's goddamn Wayland inside that cryopod, who's somehow awake the whole time. But he's going out, and Charlize Theron's like, what did he say? And David's like, I'm sorry, Charlize, that's confidential between your father and myself. And she's like, you need to tell me. Actually, no, I forgot. He doesn't refer to Charlize. We don't know. There's another big reveal in the movie. Even though it's like, why is this a reveal that Wayland is the father of Charlize Theron? And it's like but it's like, who gives a shit? But she's asking, what did he say? And she's like, I'm sorry, Mum. That's between me and him. That's confidential. And then she just fucking throws him against the wall because she's like, I fucking hate you. You're like the shitty brother I didn't want. You're my dumb robot brother, and I hate you. And he's like, do you want me to make you another vodka? And she's like, ugh. And she slaps him and she leaves, but he feels no pain. He's like, all right, whatever. But I love how they're constantly saying like, oh, David has no emotions, even though he's clearly fucking emotional like all the time. Because you can tell he fucking hates her. And he's like, I gotta do what she says until I don't. Like, again, he's a weird character in the movie where he serves at the behest of Wayland, but clearly has his own motivations and probably manipulates the situation for it to all go south anyway for Wayland. Like, it's very weird. But that's what he is. Then David, he's like, well, I gotta be more proactive, and that means evil. And he goes to his little room where he opens up the vase filled with black goop. He opens it up, black goop everywhere, and and then in the vase are like these small like green vials, which he busts open, and it's filled with the black goopy. And he's like, this will be good. I know exactly who to test this on. Eventually, we cut to Charlie, who is in the kind of the break room area, playing pool and stuff, and just kind of by himself, drinking the whole time. And David comes over to him, and he goes, "Hey, I'm sorry that you weren't able to meet your creators, your living creators." And he goes, you don't care. You're a robot. You have no feelings. You're a puppet, David. And he's like, "Yeah, I guess." And he's like, "Well, listen, just humor me, if you will. What did you want to ask them? These engineers, as you call them." He's like, I wanted to know why they created us, David. And he's like, why does that mean so much to you? It's like, that's kind of irrelevant. Like, I was created by humans, and yet I don't ask that question. And, Charlie goes, we made you because we could. And David goes, now, how disappointed would you be if these engineers, as you call them, all right, said to you, we just made you because we could? And David's a little fucking smarmy to him. And it's like, all right, yeah, he has no emotion. Clearly he has emotion. And fucking Charlie starts laughing. He's like, You got me. I didn't know you boys could joke. And David's like, ha ha ha, we have our moments, we have our moments. Would you like a drink? Would you like a drink on your discovery, sir? And he pours him some champagne. He has a little black goop on his forefinger cheek. He goes, boop. And he like obviously puts his finger in the drink. And if I took that from him, I'd be like, what'd you put in there? Why'd you put your finger in my drink? But Charlie's too drunk and too stupid and too racist to know. And he downs that shit. He goes, all right, David, gonna go and bone my wife. And he goes, oh, have a nice day, sir. Oh, enjoy that lovemaking. We move on from that, and we then cut to Idris Elba, chat. Idris Elba, he's got first watch or whatever. He's monitoring the situation, and there's a little beep on the map for the pyramid. And he goes over to it, and he looks at it, and it's like this unknown, it says unknown entity. It's an organism. And he contacts Scotty, and the biologist, and he says, hey guys, just want to update you. One of the dronies, the map drones that you own, picked up a life form. And they're like, what are we talking about, life form? We're the only living things in here. He's like, well, according to this, there's something else down there with you. And they go, oh, Jesus, oh my God. And then it disappears, and he goes, oh, that's weird. And he goes, what's up? And he goes, well, the life sign just disappeared, but I'm sure you guys are going to be A-okay. Don't even worry about it. And they're like, oh, God. And they're like, well, if there's something here, we have to make sure not to interact with it and touch it all. And they're like, agreed. And they make a pact, chat, to not touch anything that looks remotely dangerous or weird. As you would do. That's what intelligent characters do. Eventually, Charlize Theron walks in, and she's like, Idris Elba, you are a delicious chocolate man, and I want to fuck you. And he's like, cool. And she's like, my room, 10 minutes. And he's like, hell yeah. And he has like an accordion for some reason, and he's always playing an accordion, chat. So, but he apparently has sex with Charlize Theron. I'm like, who wouldn't? I was like, man, those are two beautiful people going at it, chat. Ebony and Ivory, chat. The best of both worlds. Fantastic. But we then cut, and we have Noomi Rapace eating, I don't know, sushi or, cup of noodles or something. I don't know. And she's making her notes. And then her husband comes in, and he's like, I have a flower for you. And she's like, why do you have a flower? He's like, it's to celebrate. It's the winter rose, and I know it's your favorite flower. And I've been drinking. She's like, I know you've been drinking. I know. And it's like, yes, because we had the greatest discovery ever. And she goes, well, I mean, it really is. I mean, we're going to be rich and famous for the rest of our lives. I mean, we're going to be billionaires, what we're going to be doing, the talks, the books we're going to do. I mean, this is incredible. But he's like, I really wanted to meet them. I want to meet the engineers because they gave us an invitation. And she goes, I know you did, but we can still learn so much. And who's not to say that we can't find some living subjects? Maybe they are here. Maybe they are here. Maybe they're far away. And he goes, but I wanted to know about like life and stuff. And she goes, yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I find the idea of someone who created us really interesting because I feel really bad. He's like, why do you feel bad, Noomi Rapace? Because I can't create life. Because she's barren, chat. She can't have children. He's like, well, we're going to change that tonight. And they have the weird alien goose sex, chat. And they go at it. Meanwhile, we cut back to everyone's having sex tonight, chat. Idris Elba, Charlize Theron, Noomi Rapace, Dr. Charlie, and maybe our biologist and Scotty friend are gonna enjoy themselves too. But we cut back to them, chat, and they're hanging out, and they're like back in the big. I would not be in this room, by the way, but they're hanging out in the black goo room. I'd be like, the number one place on my list I would not want to go back to is the black goo room. And the entire floor is now covered in black goo. So David just went, he just like poked a couple of holes in some of the vases, and they've been leaking black goo. And we have seen like little small terrestrial worm creatures moving around and shit. And they were just like, nom, nom, nom. They were eating as much as that black goo that could fill their tummies, chat. And it was like, oh, what's happening to them? But they're hanging out, and they see something like moving in the black goo water, and they're going, what the hell is that? And the biologist, he goes over to check it out, and then we see this giant looking pale vagina snake pop out of the water. And then another one pops up even closer to him, and the Scotsman, and the Scottish guy, he's like, holy fuck, let's get the hell out of here. But the biologist's like, it's beautiful. And he's like, even though dead alien bodies scared him, this weird, very dangerous looking vagina snake. He's like, oh no, it's beautiful. It won't hurt us at all. And he starts reaching out to her like, come here, girl. Come here, girl. And it unfurls. It's like, I don't know. It's like neck flaps, Chad. It's vagina like, bah! It's snake vagina flaps or something. And it's going and all that. And he's like, it's okay. It's okay. I just want to pet you. And he's like reaches out to it, and this thing just fucking bites down his goddamn finger and wraps around his arm. And he's like, it's okay. And he's like, oh, it's tightening. It's tightening. And he's telling Scotty to like, get it off of me, man. It's tightening around my arm, man. It's going to break my arm, man. And it just breaks his fucking arm, chat. Bone goes through. It breaks his arm in like 7 different fucking spots, chat. And it goes through his suit. He's like, ah! And he's freaking out. And then Scotty, he's got a knife, and he starts slashing at the vagina snake on his arm, but the vagina snake has this acidic blood chain. It sprays into his face, chat. And he's like, or he has the helmet on, but it sprays in there. And he trips over himself, and he falls into a big old puddle of black goop, like face first. And he comes up, and he's like, and the plastic and the snake, the vagina snake juice, and the black goo mix on his face, and he just falls over again. While the biologist guy, the snake like goes in through his because where his bone came out and punctured the suit. Snake's like, I want to go inside there. I'm gonna face fuck you. He's like, don't face fuck me. I'm gonna face fuck you. And he goes inside the suit, chat, and he's like, and it wraps around his neck, and then goes right down his throat, chat, and I assume face fucks him. And it's like, so everyone's getting some sexy times tonight, chat. Good for all of them. Good for the vagina snake monster, chat. It's his own fault. Science takes sacrifice. That's what, I think it's what David says. Oh, Lord. It will hurt but a little. I think it's the hentai style. Oh, yeah. No, this is hentai style. This is the most hentai the Alien franchise gets, chat. Where a giant tentacle vagina snake monster goes back and forth inside of a guy's throat. It's like, Jesus, HP love up in this bitch, very much so. Oh, where are we now? There's been a lot of sex shit. Dumb characters are dumb, chat. I wrote a note. Dumb characters are dumb. Eventually, we return to the bedroom of Charlie and Numi Rapace, and Charlie's got bubbly guts, chat. He's like, he's not feeling well. And he goes to the bathroom, chat. He puts some water on his face, but his eyes are all like really red and yellow looking. And he looks at like the mirror because he's like, what is that? And he like puts his eyelid down, and there's like a fucking worm inside of it. It's like a parasite. And it's like, oh God. And it like literally like goes back inside of his head. He's like, oh. And Numi Rapace, she like wakes up. She's like, everything's okay. Charlie goes, yeah, I'm not filled with worms and shit. And she's like, okay, cool. And then they get a little message from Idris Elba and go, all right, well, I guess you guys can head back to the pyramid. I've been trying to get a hold of the biologist and the Scottman, but they're not answering. So probably best to check on them first when they go back to the chamber. She's like, okay, cool. And so like everyone's getting dressed and shit at this point, chat, putting all this, and fucking Charlie, he's like, he's not looking good. And David's like, how you doing, Charlie? The Charles, so Chuck, how you doing, Chuck? He's like, I don't feel good, David. He's like, well, you probably drank too much. Gotta be careful of that alcohol. I wouldn't know because I'm a robot, unlike you stupid fucking humans. He's like, excuse me? He goes, ha 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 ha. Oh, nothing. It's fine. Let's go back to the pyramid. And so they all still going back to the pyramid, chat, at this point. And David, again, he just fucking leaves them. You don't like they go down one direction. He's like, I'm gonna go this way, and he just goes to a complete different area of the ship, chat. And he opens up this one doorway by pressing all these buttons, and there's this giant cargo hold filled with more black goo vases, chat, like thousands of them. And he's like, huh. Oh, yeah, I can do a lot of evil shit here. And he then goes to this one area of the ship, which looks very familiar, chat, in the Alien franchise. And he realizes where he is because he's like, huh, where? And he goes, like, it's just like this giant, like platform. And he steps on it, and he's looking around, and he sees a pilot seat, and goes over the pilot seat, and he presses some buttons, and his hologram pops up. his hologram pops up, and we see these engineers moving around this giant platform and things, and like it sits down in the pilot seat. David gets up and it sits down in the pilot seat and starts pressing all these big like really fleshy white buttons and go, and there's like they use like a whistle. They use like, so I guess this is operated by like music to a degree, and he sees like the whistle on it. He's like, oh, that's weird. I mean, it blows into this whistle. You blow and I'll do the fingering. That's what that comes from in Alien Covenant. And he blows into it, and this activates a giant holographic map in the middle of the platform. And David goes to the middle of the platform, and he sees this one particular planet that it's been highlighted that the aliens, the engineers, are like pointing at and talking about. And he goes to it, and it's fucking Earth. Because he takes it in his hands, and he's like, oh. And it's actually a very beautiful, whimsical scene. Like, it's actually really well done. But then eventually it shuts off. The hologram shuts off, and it disappears. And he goes, oh, well, that's fucking weird. Eventually, we cut back to the group. Oh, yeah, Idris Elba, I think, has joined them at this point. Yes, he's joined them at this point. And they're going into the black goo room where we found Scotty, and the biologist. But then Charlie's tripping over himself constantly now. And Numi Rapace is like, are you okay? He goes, I'm great. I'm great. She goes, oh, my God, are you sick? He's like, no, just... Too much to drink. Too much to drink last night. And she goes, okay. But as they're like going in, they're exploring everything. And they find the bot. They like, hey, is that the biologist guy? And they go over to the biologist guy and they turn him over. And the vagina snake shoots out of this hole created in his neck. But it basically sucked out all of his nutrients, chat. So he's all mummified. Now he's like really gross. And they have no idea where the Scotsman is, Chad. Like he just got up and walked away. They have no idea. They find like part of his melted like helmet giblets everywhere, but they don't know where he went. And they're like, this isn't good. But then, Chad, Charlie starts going, and he starts like pooping. He starts pooping, chat, and vomiting. And Remy Priest is like, my husband is still pooping and vomiting. Help me. And Idris Elba's like, I will then be the hero of the movie now. And he's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. I don't like this black goo room or the vagina snakes or your husband who keeps shitting and vomiting everywhere. Let's get the fuck out. And so I think this is I think David joins them as well. I think he eventually gets there with him too. He joins them and he's like, oh, Charlie, you not feeling well? He's like, and he's all getting all gross. But eventually everyone gets loaded back into the car at this point. And Charlie, and then like Numi Rapace, Idris Elba's like, fucking open the cargo hold right now. We have someone who's very sick. And Charlize Theron hears this. She's like, excuse me, what are you talking about? Someone's very sick. And he's like, I got a sick guy in here. And really, it's the scene from Alien again, where Ripley's like, we got to have quarantine here. We don't know what Kane's infected with. And it's the same situation. Or he's like, God damn it, Vickers. God damn it, Charlize Theron. It's my fucking ship. Open the cargo bay door. She's like, fuck that. Get the flamethrower. And there's like, ma'am, I'm going to burn that motherfucker. And she takes this giant fucking industrial flamethrower. She does the right thing, Chad. She does the Taco Tuesday mixed up. You never want to take, Chad. You never want to eat tacos with alien goo. Don't do it. Don't do it. But, she's like in the cargo bay, just like, I can't wait to burn these motherfuckers. Eventually, they're right outside the cargo bay doors of the ship, and they're still locked at this point. Idris Elba is demanding that they open them back up. Meanwhile, we cut to Charlie. They get Charlie out, and he's melting. He's like turning into like a weird abomination thing. He's like, and he's like, everything's coming out of him. His eyes are melting and stuff. It's like, oh my God. And everybody's like, oh my God, he won't stop pooping. He's poop everywhere. And he's like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't do it. And, David's, if you watch David in the background, he's going, tee-hee-hee, tee-hee-hee, the whole fucking time. He's just smiling his ass off like, I'm evil. But what's so funny to me is, what's sad to me is like I don't give a shit about Charlie. What's happening to him is so awful, but he's such a poorly written character, and he was so mean to David initially. He's like, yeah, that's what you fucking get, dude. Now you're a melty poopy boy. But he gets like, get away from me. Get away from me. And he's like, I gotta die. And Charlize Theron opens the cargo bay door. She has a flamethrower. And she's like, hey, get the fuck back, Charlie. Get the fuck back. And he's just like, and then she burns him, which is like a really bad. I was like, can you just shoot me? Can you just like shoot me in the head? Like be very, very quick. But she burns him alive, and he turns into just a big mushy pile of fleshy poop. Not great. And Numi Rapace is fucking freaking out like, and she fucking faints. Meanwhile, we cut, and it's, I guess, several hours later. Numi Rapace is in the medical wing, and David's looking at you, and he's going, hi. How you doing, honey? Everything going okay? And she's like, my husband turned into, like, melty poop. And he goes, yeah, it's sad, yeah. But I just want to give you a good old checkup, see if everything's okay, you know. I mean, see if the contagion spread to anyone else, of course. He goes, yeah, no, that's good. And he starts, like, examining her, goes, And she's like, what's up? He's like, well, something to do with your blood. It's kind of, something weird about that. And he's like, hold on, let me get my little sonogram machine. He gets his little sonogram machine, starts, putting the jelly on her tum-tum. And he's like, let me get a good look. And he goes, ho, ho, ho. Congratulations. She's like, what are you talking about? And she goes, well, you're 3 months pregnant. And she's like, what? No, I'm not pregnant. I can't get pregnant. Well, I mean, Dr. Shaw, that's her character's name, Numi Rapace, this is a bit of an unusual pregnancy. And she looks at him, and it's like this fucking weird squid baby's inside of her. She's like, oh my God. And he's like, listen, did you and Dr. Holloway, the Charlester Chuck, did you guys have any sexual intercourse? Did you wear protection? And she's like, I mean, we had sex like 10 hours ago, but I couldn't be pregnant, 3 months pregnant. He goes, well, I mean, accidents happen. And she's like, get it out of me. David's like, I'm not going to do that. No, listen. No, the first things first, we're going to put you back in that good old cryo tube, okay? And we're going to head back to Earth. Charlize Theron, she's very unhappy with the situation. We're going to just put you in the cryo tube, and we'll get you out of there. Well, then it'll be fine. She's like, no, get it out of me. And she fucking freaks out. She starts fighting him. He's like, okay, go to sleep. And he just punches her in the fucking face, and she gets knocked the fuck out. He also talks about how there's this whole fucking subplot with how, because it delves into her faith and why she believes in the engineers, but she's also very religious at the same time. And there's this whole thing with her fucking father and how her father was an archaeologist and he died because of Ebola or something. And David references it. He's like, I've also watched all your dreams. For whatever reason, David has watched all the crew's dreams. So how do you do that? How do you watch someone's dreams? They don't explain it, but I guess there's technology where they're like, yep, there's your dreams. And he watched all of her dreams, and he constantly talks about her father and her faith because he doesn't understand it. He's like, why do you give a shit about, your faith in your dad and stuff like that? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, dads, they're fucking dicks. I hate dads. Dads are the worst. I hate my dad. And it's really just because David despises Waylon so much and the concept of family and parents, because he is a son. He feels he's a son that has not gotten the credit that he deserves for taking care of Waylon for all these years and being, like, in David's eyes, the true heir, the true person who should take over Waylon, the corporation at this point. And that's why he doesn't understand Numi Rapace's faith of her character or the love of her father, because he feels no love or affection towards Waylon. But yeah, that's a big thing with him. By the way, he has no emotion, right? We then cut, and Numi Rapace is being analyzed by Dr. Ford, who is also evil. And there's a shit ton of, like, mercenaries on the ship now. And they all have guns. It's like, I didn't see you guys earlier, but okay. And Dr. Ford's like, okay, we're going to analyze her and prep her for cryo sleep. Make sure she's got enough of that, of that sleepy juice in her. But they didn't put enough sleepy juice in her, chat. That android punch to David was not enough to knock her the fuck out. And she fucking freaks, chat. I guess she's got that mama bear strength because she's preggo. And, as we all know, chat, when you become pregnant, you get super fucking strength. And she starts throwing Ford around and shit. And she knocks everyone, like, really just knocks everyone out, I guess. And then she starts waddling because her belly's getting all big. She's like, just like insta pregnant, chat. Can you imagine insta pregnancy? Jesus. But she's waddling around. Oh my God, because she needs to get to the special medical tube that she saw early in the movie. That's in the office of Charlize Theron. And she's like, because that's where I can get this thing out of me, automated surgery. Basically, the automated surgery pod. And so she waddles there while her tummy's just like, and all that, not looking good. She gets there, chat. She's like constantly like shooting morphine into her body and stuff. And this is probably like, I remember in the theaters, this was like, oh, this is the intense scene. But like looking at it now, it's like, it's okay. It doesn't beat the chest burster scene from the original Alien, of course, chat. Doesn't measure up to it, but it's kind of fucking horrifying when you think about it. Again, fear of childbirth and stuff. I get that. Fear of pregnancy. Playing with those same themes like the original movies do. But she loads herself up there, chat. Belly's all blah, 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 blah. And the machine's like, well, I'm programmed to help a very old man who is definitely not on this ship at all. I can't perform a cesarean section. And she's like, she like puts in another one, like remove foreign body. And it's like, all right, I'll do that. And so the machine has this like cauterizing laser, and the laser beam just cuts open her tummy and uterus, and she's like, ooh, and it pulls this giant weird squid baby out of her, and she's like, oh, and the squid baby like comes alive, and it's like, not the mama, and it's very upset with Noomi Rapace. But she like slides out of also it staples. This is so fucking bizarre. So then it staples her uterus and tummy back together. And as the ladies in the chat, let me know. I mean, you can fucking run a mile. You can run a marathon once you've given birth or have had a cesarean section, because for the rest of the goddamn movie, she is running her ass off, chat. I'm like, how is this possible? There's no way. There's no way. But yeah, you can do anything after you've given birth, apparently. And she slides out, and then she tries to cryo freeze it or something. And she gets the hell out of there, Chad. Gets the hell out of there. And she's like stumbling. She's like stumbling through the ship, like asking for help. And like no one's like, we're mean. We're shitty people. We're not going to help you. Eventually, we cut to the cargo bay. And there's a guy that's monitoring cameras. And they see the body of the Scotsman, Chad. The Scotsman is like there, but he's all weird. Look, he's like kind of like folded on himself. And he's like, Idris Elba? And the guy's like, yeah. He's like, there's like Scotty, but he's like a pretzel now. He's all pretzel-y. And he goes, well, just open the doors and check on him. And he goes, okay. And so they open the cargo bay doors, and they see this like crumpled pretzel zombie body of the Scotsman just like, and they're like, let's go see what it is. And they walk down there, and they're like, oh, that's weird. Hey guys, take a look at the pretzel boy. And the Scotsman kind of stands up, and then he uses his newfound pretzel zombie abilities to just hit people, and they literally, Chad, he hits people and they explode. He hits the one guy, disposable red shirt number 1, kills him, kills like a whole bunch of guys. There's a lot of characters in this movie, a lot of people, but they're just there to die. They're cannon fodder. And so this weird pretzel zombie is just like jumping on people and killing them and like hitting them until they explode. And it's like, all right. Idris Elba's like, I've had enough of these motherfucking pretzel zombies on this motherfucking spaceship. We got to go down there. Benedict Wong, other brown person, would you like to participate in the movie now? And they're like, boy, would we. And so they all go downstairs to the cargo hold after the Scotsman pretzel zombie has killed everybody, and they burn him and they shoot him to death. And that's it. So there's like there's a lot of deleted scenes and alternate scenes in this movie. And the original version of it with the character's name, I think, is like Fairfield or something, or Fifield or something. He's the Scotsman. He's the map guy that got lost. He couldn't understand his own maps. And there's a version where he's more like xenomorph-like he's becoming of xenomorph, which is interesting to me. But they went with the more zombie pretzel design. That was the thing that they used. I'm like, I don't know. I would have preferred like the xenomorph thing would have made more sense, because the xenomorphs came from the black goo. Then I could see why he's turned into a xenomorph-like creature instead of like a pretzel zombie. But that's what happens. And they kill him. Eventually, chat, we cut to Noomi Rapace, who was waddling down the hallway, and she goes into like this other, what's her name's? Charlize Theron's room, where, big fucking reveal, chat, Peter Whalen's in there, and he goes, hi, I'm in the movie. And she's like, how? Oh my God, I never expected that. What a big surprise that you joined us. And she's like, why'd you do it? And he's like, I'm old. I only have a few days of life left. And I was hoping I could ask your engineers for more life. His plan is, it's a Hail Mary. He's like, I got nothing left. I don't want to die. Like, he's afraid to die. I get that. And he's like, well, maybe these creators who created us however many, years ago, they have a way to keep me alive and be immortal. And so I put this expedition together, billions of dollars in order to do it. I mean, and she's like, why? And he said, like you, doctor, I did it on the basis of faith. And it's like, she's like, okay. And David's like, oh God. Sure. And David's like massaging. Man, Quentin Tarantino would get off to this scene. More feet scenes in Alien. We had one last night with Alien Resurrection. Another feet. If you love like old man feet with corns, with feet that clearly have just rotted away, oh my God, chef. Whew. Tarantino's gonna have a fucking field day where David is like putting oils and shit on Guy Pearce's old man feet, and they're gross. They're really gross. He's massaging them, making sure they're nice and moist. Gotta have some moist feet when you go meet your creator, Chad, as you know. And she's like, oh, well, the thing is, though, Mr. Whalen, there's nothing but death here at this point. There's nothing but death here. This is dangerous. Our creators are all dead. Oh, and David, I totally forgot this one scene earlier in the movie. So when David was in the pilot's nest and he saw all this stuff, he found a bunch of cryopods there too, right there in the pilot's nest. And in one of the pilot's nest, chat, there is an engineer still alive. He's just in cryostasis. And David's like, no, actually, no, there's one of them is alive. I found him. And she goes, holy fucking shit. But she's like, I don't know if you should go though, Mr. Whalen, because a lot of our crew's been infected by certain things, and you could also become sick. And he's like, whatever. And David's like, no, there's no way he could become sick. It's fine. And she's like, how do you know that? And he's like, I just know. And like, this is very interesting to me in the movie. Noomi Rapace's character of Dr. Shaw never finds out that David killed her husband, infected him with the alien goop. Like, that would have been really interesting, chat. Like, what if he said, and I was the one that killed him. I put that black alien goo inside of his tummy, and he became melty poop. Like, that would have been like a whoa. That would have been motivation for, Noomi Rapace to go, fuck you. And that would have been like a nice back and forth. But they never reveal that she never finds out that he did it. And I think in Alien Covenant, she's like, we don't know. I mean, we'll talk about Alien Covenant. But she never finds out, which that would have been a really interesting character building plot point, but fuck it, who cares? And so he's like, I'm going to go. And so then we get a really unnecessary scene of when Charlize Theron walks in the room and she's like, I want to talk to him. And David's like, he doesn't want to talk. She's like, I will. He's like, all right, Mom. And he leaves. And she like kneels down to him and she's like, how you doing? He's like, I feel like death. And she said, yeah, you look a 120-year-old man, not looking great. He looks really fucking old, and the old man makeup is shit, Chad. It's shit. But she's like, listen, I know that you did this last-ditch effort, spent fucking billions of dollars, sacrificed the reputation of the company, but every king dies, okay? And the offspring takes over. And she like goes for his hand, but he fucking pulls it back, and he's like, no, I want more life. And she's like, fair enough, father. And it's like this big reveal that that's his daughter. And he's like, I guess he just didn't want a daughter. He's like, I wanted a son. I don't like vaginas. I don't like stinky vaginas. And it's like, all right, dude, fine. And then she walks away. Eventually we cut to Noomi Rapace, who's in her room, and she's like being sad and shit. But then Idris Elba comes in. Idris Elba's like, holy fucking shit. I just figured out like what this place is. It's a military installation. This is like where they made their fucking weapons. So they didn't want to make them, on their home planet or whatever, they put this in the back end, the ass end of the galaxy, and made these WMDs. That's what it's all about. Okay, and we found it, we discovered it, and it killed them, and now it's killing us. And it's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And as soon as Charlize Theron gives me the goddamn, we're getting out of here. And then Noomi Rapace is like, listen, they're going, Waylon's here, by the way. I guess you already knew that. Waylon's going to the pyramid to wake one of these things up. And whatever happens, Idris Elba, I need you to do this. And Idris Elba's like, what do you need me to do? And she's like, I may need you to perform a blackrifice. And it's like, God damn it. Potentially one of the coolest characters in the movie, underused. And Idris Elba looks at her and goes, I will perform the blackrifice to save the whites. To save the white people. Not only him, but I will also sacrifice my multicultural, multi-ethnic crew as well of brown people. Listen, chat, if you're brown, you're going down in this movie. It's a recurring theme, Person Man. It's a recurring theme. He's like, no problem. I can do that for you. I'll save you. She's like, great. So Noomi Rapace, she gets in the fucking car with old man Wayland and Ford and some mercenaries and David, and they go back to the pyramid. They go into the pilot's nest, and they, and fucking, Wayland is like, he can barely fucking move and shit. Oh, this is when we find out where, oh, you can take your helmet off, sir, if you want to. He goes, all right. And she's like, no, don't take your helmet off because there might be, like, dangerous substances here. We don't know how my husband got infected. And David's like, oh, don't worry. He didn't get infected that way. And she's like, how do you know that? And he's like, no reason. But they take off the helmets and, Wayman's like, smells good to me. And so they continue forward, chap, until they get to the pilot's nest, and David goes to the sarcophagus cryopod, and he goes beep, bop, boop, and it opens up, and the engineer's like, oh. It, like, has all these plugs inside of it, too. It starts taking all the plugs out, and I'm like, what the fuck? Jesus. Oh, they all have, like, cameras, so they're all watching the scene, like, back on the ship. Idris Elba and Charlize Theron are watching this, and the giant, like, engineer walks out, and it's just as pale as the one we saw on Earth that turned into diarrhea, and it's just, like, it kind of, like, it's blinking, and it starts, like, starts speaking some alien speak like, gabagool, boppity boop, and Wayland's like, David! And he's like, yes, Mr. Wayland. What did he say? And he's like, he asked us why we're here. And, he's like, keep talking to him. Tell him I've come for answers and stuff. And then Noomi Rapace, she starts talking. She's like, to ask them what they were doing here. Ask them why they wanted to come to Earth and take us out. Because that's the thing, chat. That's the thing. They built this mental installation, and we're going to go to Earth and wipe us the fuck out. That was the engineer's plan. They created us, but then they changed their mind and want to destroy us. And the alien looks at her like, huh? And then Peter Wayland's like, shut that bitch up. And he fucking, like, someone backhands her in her stapled uterus. And she's like, oh, my uterus, which hurts again. And she falls over. And then the engineer, like, looks at David. And again, now, see, there's a alternate scene that is much better here. Where David, like, asks this thing questions, and there's a back and forth. There's a conversation between two of them. And where even Peter Wayland is asking the alien, the engineer is like, you created us. You created life. I've also created life. This is my creation. He was made in my image. I'm like you, and I deserve to live like you. I deserve to live like a god. And this is a deleted scene. It's not in the movie. Because as soon as what's her name? Noomi Rapace gets hit in the uterus and the vagina. The alien sees that, and he looks at David, and he kind of, like, puts his head on David and kind of pets him like a puppy, and then he grabs his fucking head and rips his head off. And David's like, oh, God. And then Wayland's like, no! And he fucking uses David as like to bludgeon Wayland to death. He falls over. His brains are falling out and shit. And then everyone starts to fucking panic, and like the mercenaries that are there start shooting, but they have the worst aim, Chad. They can only do shoulder shots. And the engineer just grabs them and kind of throws them, and they're like, ah, and they fall back and die. Ford, who's also there, Chad, the fucking engineer just comes up and just boo punches her so hard, Chad, that her boob explodes and goes out her back and she dies. It's like, Jesus. And he's like, boppity boopy. And then he starts operating the pilot's nest because he's like, I'm going to take off and I'm going to go destroy the planet. While Noomi Rapace, even though she's in extreme uterus vagina pain, she is just fucking running shit. She's chopped. She's doing a Tom Cruise run out of the temple, which is actually a ship. It's not a temple, Chad. It's a ship. And Idris Elba's like, oh, that's probably not good. Noomi Rapace, she eventually, she exits out. Oh, we have to see, because we see like the engineer like doing his thing in the pilot's nest, and then we see the giant chair that we see in the original Alien chair where the mummified space jockey engineer is, where the thing burst out of him. And he gets in there and it puts it on and it's starting to like lift off, and we see like from the outside this whole complex, this whole like it is a landing strip, and it's like opening up for the giant donut ship. And Noomi Rapace, she gets blasted out like right on top. She falls there, and she calls Idris Elba. She's like, Idris, Blackifice, and he's like, goddamn right I will, white woman. Hey, BD Wan, or not BD Wan. Hey, Benedict Wan. Hey, Hispanic guy, do you want to perform a Blackifice with me? And they're like, oh boy, do we, Idris Elba? And Charlize Theron's like, well, I'm a white woman and I'm not involved in this. He's like, of course not. No, you are a white person, so therefore you can escape. And she's like, fantastic. And so she fucking runs to the escape pod as the Prometheus is heading towards the giant donut ship, Chad, intending to do a kamikaze attack because it has no weapons on board. So she gets shot out of the escape pod, Chad, along with her big old life pod thing, which is like, he says, listen, you got 2 years of life in that fucking life pod of yours. Live out the rest of your days if you want, but we are going to perform a Blackifice. Thank you very much. And so it shoots out. And then Noomi Rapace and Charlize Theron, they watch as the Prometheus, Idris Elba's like, hands up, boys, hands up. So I guess you don't hang on to anything. You just go fucking forward and then you fucking hit the windshield like a fucking, mosquito, and you explode. And they ram right into the donut ship, and they break apart. Like, they also go like warp speed or something. And this causes the donut ship to malfunction, Chad. It falls out of the air until it hits the ground. The thing is, though, Chad, it hits the ground vertically, and it starts like tumbling towards, like rolling towards Charlize Theron and Noomi Rapace. And they're like, oh shit, feet don't fail me now. And they just start running like in a straight line. Like you just move to the side, just move like this. Move like this until you're out of the path, but they're like, nope, can't do it. Apparently, chat, white women, I didn't know this, white women can only run in one direction. Can't go right, can't go left. Once they're set in, that's it. But at this point, thankfully, chat, Noomi Rapace's vagina uterus pain saves her, and she falls down, and she just kind of rolls out of the way of the donut ship, while Charlize Theron, she trips because she keeps going fucking straight, and even Noomi Rapace is like, go to the side, but she doesn't hear her. And then Charlize Theron, she falls down as this thing, she's like, no, and it fucking rolls over her, chat. So fucking dumb. White women can't zigzag, chat. It's confirmed. It's confirmed. Yeah, white people go do stupid alien poking, activate Blackifice. That's how it works. Chat. That's right, Benedict Wong, he just portaled out of there. It's like, all right, see you guys later. See you in the MCU. But then, it's not done yet, because then, like, the ship comes to a stop, and then it starts falling fucking forward, Chat. Like, oh, shit. And it, like, lands almost on top of Noomi Rapace. But thankfully, there was a rock. There. And so it blocks it just enough. But it damaged her helmet. And she has less than 2 minutes of air left. Thankfully, Charlize Theron's life pod is over there. And she just is like, I got to get me some O2. That's what I need to do right now. And she's walking over there. She opens up the life pod chat, puts in the code that she knows, starts grabbing a shit ton of oxygen stuff. She's like, that's some good oxygen. But then she hears something moving inside the life pod chat, or at least in the medical wing, where she had her cesarean, which took out the squid baby. And she hears something moving, and she goes over there, chat, and she sees that the medical capsule, the automated surgery capsule is empty. And it looks like something broke out. And she's like, huh? And then we see this giant fucking tentacle, like, hit the window. And we see that the squid baby has gotten really big. It's gotten really large. It's larger than charge. She's like, that's probably not good. And then she gets a little ring-a-ding-ding on her radio. And it's Dave. And he goes, hi. So I know we've had our differences, but I just want to let you know that the engineer is still alive and he's coming for you. And right when he says that, he fucking breaks through the goddamn door and he opens it up, chat, and he goes he beeline towards her, chat. Now, there's an extended there's a deleted scene where it's an extended sequence where he's searching for her in the life pod and where he actually watches some of the video of humanity. I thought that was interesting, but they cut all that shit out because he's like, you, white woman, you blew up my ship. And he goes right towards her, chat, but then she hits the button on the medical room where the squid baby is, and the squid baby just goes, mama, and it grabs onto the engineer, chat, and starts to like, oh, I want to hentai you so bad. And he's like, oh, fuck. Like, the guy, like, I love that the engineer's even like, holy shit, what is this thing? As it's like grabbing and wrapping its hentai tentacles around him. Numi Rapace, she fucking pieces out. She gets out of there as the giant, and we realize what the squid baby is. It's a giant face hugger, and it has these like little tentacles that shoot out of its mouth and wrap around its head, and then this big old penis, this giant, big, girthy penis goes right down his throat and starts face fucking him, chat, and, you know, he goes to sleep. That's what happens when you get face fucked, Jay. You go to sleep, apparently. And so she runs out of there, and she's all like, she's crying and shit. And then David's like, hey, I know you're crying and stuff, but can you, like, come get me? I can't move because I'm just a head now. And she's like, David, we're not getting out of here. We're going to die. And he's like, no, listen. There's, like, a bunch of other ships, and I can pilot them, you know? And then, you know, both of us can team up. And we can get out of here. And she's like, okay, I'm going to come and get you. And then she goes into the big old one of the crash donut ship where she finds David. And he goes, listen, it's so good to see you here. Oh, I forgot another line. There's another line I forgot to mention when old man Peter Whalen gets got. And he says one last thing to David before he dies. He goes, there's nothing here, David. Nothing. And he dies. And then David's like, yeah, I know. Have a nice journey, sir. Enjoy the journey. Fuck you, Dad. But she goes in there and she picks him up. And he's like, so good to see you. This is great. This is great. And he also takes his body. He's like, I'm going to fix your body too. And she's like, listen, David, I don't want to go home. He's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I want to take one of these ships and then go to where the engineers are, where their true homeworld is, or a world which they occupy. And he goes like, why all about this? Because I need to ask them a question. Why did they choose to create this? And why did they choose to destroy us? And he goes, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And she's like, well, I guess that's the difference between us. I'm a human and you're a robot. And I just care about this. And he's like, okay. And so then we cut as she like goes down this rope, and then we hear like, and it's like a total callback to Original Alien. It's like, Dr. Elizabeth Shaw's log, last survivor of the Prometheus. I'm going with the robot to find our creators and find out why they chose to destroy us. And that, Chad, it just ends that way. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown of Prometheus. Now, guess what? She doesn't find out, actually. Little hint, chat, for my review for Alien Covenant coming on Monday. So David, she repairs David. They go on their journey. They're constantly traveling. She gets older and shit. They get to the planet. David's like, fuck. He's like, I'm evil now. I'm super evil. And he commits genocide upon the entire engineer species, or at least this planet of them. and they all fucking die. And then he goes to Elizabeth and says, hey, I'm going to use you in my experiments to make an alien. And he fucking mutates her, chat, and uses her body. Like, he keeps her alive for as long as possible as a mutated abomination. But then he eventually uses her womanly parts to create, like, face huggers and shit. That's what happens. That's like, so she never realizes that. Like, that's her fate. Big fucking spoiler for Covenant, Chad. That's the fate of Numi Rapace's character. Turns into her abomination. Eventually, she just dies because she becomes so mutated. And he uses her organs and sexual organs to create a proto-xenomorph. There it is. That's it. So if you want to, if you like this character, you're like, well, I want to see more of her. I want to see her continue her journey. Nope. You do not see that. Thank you, gentlemen, for the 3 biddies. 3 cheers for a great review. Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, chat. Let's be honest, humans are shitters. They are. That's why it's obvious. Like, clearly the engineer said, oh my God, humanity fucking sucks. We should not have created them. We got to destroy them. And what happened is, I mean, they spelled out in the movie, is there was an accident at this facility. The black goo got out, and it mutated them and created xenomorphs and shit, maybe, or xenomorph enemies. Oh, I forgot the scene. Oh, chat, I forgot. I'm sorry. This is not the end of the movie. This is not the end of the movie. I totally forgot. Because it feels like Ridley Scott went, fine, here's your alien moment. We cut back to the life pod where the engineer is, where the squid baby face fucked him. Squid baby's dead. But then we see the engineer going, oh, he's got a big old belly now, and then an alien comes out, but it's not like a regular alien, it's like a really pale bluish alien, and it's like kind of like playing around in its goopy guts and stuff. And eventually it stands up and it goes, and it has like a little mouth that shoots out. But it's not as cool as the original alien mouth, and that's the end of the movie, chap. It's like either have the alien or don't have it, and it's like this is like unnecessary. Like, well, here's your fan service, I guess. Okay, and that's it. That's how the movie ends. I totally forgot that because it's such a fucking afterthought in this film with this thing coming out of the engineer. But there you go. And we never go back. We never go back to that alien. It's just, yeah, I guess it just died. So basically Prometheus says, look at the engineers then. Covenant goes, fuck them. Yeah, pretty much. That's what David does. It pisses me off. It's the ads bad. I enjoy the review, but the movie sounds like shit. It's not good. It's not good. The thing is, like, there's like, there's some things I appreciate about, like, there's really good cinematography. It's a well-shot movie. It's a very well-shot movie. And Michael Fassbender gives a very good performance. Like, he becomes really ridiculous in Covenant. Like, if you thought he was, like oh, you're, kind of mustache-twirling evil in this, just fucking wait. Just wait. We get to Covenant, chat, where he's like, I'm evil, Mike. And there's no explanation as to why he wants to make xenomorphs. Because I think that's what Ridley Scott's long-term goal was or plan was, where I am going to reveal that David is the one that created the alien that we see in the first Alien, chat. He's the creator of him. Because he experimented with the black goo and Shaw and all these other people, and that's what he did. I think that was going to be the end game until it finally leads up to the original Alien, chat, with Sigourney Weaver and stuff. But that's kind of lame to me. But there's no explanation as to why he wants to do it. He's like, I want to create the perfect organism. This pure organism. But why do you want it? Why? I don't know. I'm evil now. Because he's evil. Fine, Mom. Maybe that's how Apocalypse starts. Yeah, he's living that edge in your god life, very much so. But yeah, Chad, it's just, aside from Michael Fassbender's performance and some really good-looking cinematography, it's just it's a movie that is consistently undercut by really bad writing and really poor characters. Dumb fucking characters. And this is why that's where that phrase comes from. You pulled a Prometheus, referring to like when a character does something really stupid in a movie. Touching something they shouldn't touch. Do not touch the black goo and do not touch the weird looking snake vagina monster. It's not friendly. It's beautiful. No, it's not. It's a snake vagina monster. It's probably not beautiful, chat. And look what happened to him. Look what happened to him. You get hentai to death. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I would give it. I mean, it's hard because Michael Fassbender's performance is it's legitimately really good. And cinematography. Hi, some old bullshit. Hi, some old bullshit, chat. I just don't know. I just like I don't think low rental. I think it's worse than a low rental. I'll just give it some old bullshit. I'm gonna give it some old bullshit, chat. There you go. It's a low, it's a low rental for some good laughs. Like I think when I first saw this, I would give it a rental at the time. But just because of, like, other than David and some cinematography, the rest of the movie is just shit. I don't care about anybody. I don't give a shit. So, yeah, shit. There you go. All the technology, the aesthetic is so inconsistent with the other movies. Yeah, it just makes no goddamn sense. But I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope you like it, chat. Come on, Herman. They didn't know. Oh, Lord. It's really, Scott cut out like half the movie for pacing. Yeah, I think he cut out like 20 or 30 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. Blackerfice, why have I heard this term? Because I created it. It was my term. I'm going to trademark it. It had excellent. No, the marketing is fantastic. The trailer is great for Prometheus. Let's watch the. Yeah. We'll do, chat. This is the thing that convinced me back in the day. The trailer for Prometheus is really fucking good. Yeah, the David commercial, they had all that other, those fan videos, and they had, like, a young Guy Pearce in there before they put him in under, like, a mountain of makeup. There was some really cool. Yeah, let me show you the Prometheus. It's a very well put together trailer. Prometheus trailer. McCoy not playing Need to Do This. Oh, do my own script. I would love, listen, I don't know. I would love to, write a screenplay. I've had ideas. I talked about this, like, in Class in a Glass Cast. Not this most recent one, the one beforehand, like, my ideas for, like, a Nightmare on Elm Street duology, where it takes place after the events of Dream Warriors, and, where, I mean, it's kind of like, it's like a sequel. It's like the original Nightmare, Dream Warriors, they're canon, and then I have my two movies, Waking Dreams and The Dream War. Where I wanted to play with the idea of, I mean, we're literally in the first movie, like Waking Dreams, sleep paralysis demons, that kind of thing. We have a character that's affected by that, and they encounter what the essence is, what's left of the essence of Freddy Krueger from Dream Warriors. And Freddy can't kill anyone yet, but he's feeding off of these people through their sleep paralysis, through these waking dreams that they have. He is a paralysis demon. Like, that's my concept. I think it'd be really cool. I would love to write an alien movie. I would really, really love that. I would want to do a proper Alien 3, ending the story with Ripley, Newt, Hicks, and Bishop. That's me. You're going to pull a 2018 Halloween? Yup. Yes, I am. I'm going to ignore the movies I don't like and just do the ones that fans do like. And typically, they like the original Nightmare 3, Dream Warriors, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which is a very meta movie. But I can't really do that. I can't really incorporate that movie because it's so meta, where it's as if, like, the Nightmare films are just movies, and then this is its own thing. But it's still good. Are you thinking about that, Durham McCoy? I've never had that, but that's, like, really scary. And I thought that'd be kind of cool, because I've always heard people like, oh, it's a horrible experience. Like, for those who don't know, like, sleep paralysis is like where you're awake, but you have no control over your body. Like, you're just there. You're like, your body's still asleep, but you're like this, looking at stuff, and your mind is still dreaming, coming up with things, and you see, like, a person. Usually it's this entity that's all in black with, like, eyes and stuff staring at you, like, in the corner of your room. It's very, very frightening. And so, no love for Freddy's Revenge, no love for Freddy 2. No. Very homoerotic, though. Very homoerotic Freddy movie. Just waking up to. So it was also that. And that's kind of, I want to play with that. Like, I want to play with, like, someone who suffers from sleep paralysis, and Freddy feeds off of this person, and the sleep paralysis spreads to other people, and then you can get, like, different types of waking dreams in the movie, and Freddy becomes more powerful and starts killing again. In the end of the film, he's finally at his full strength, and that's when we get to the Dream Warrior, where he's picking off all the Dream Warriors. He's killing them. I'll bring back as many of the actors as I possibly could for that movie, or at least those characters, and have it where he's killing all these people, and then it's up to my main character, who suffered from the sleep paralysis in the first film, and all of her friends to come together and become the new Dream Warriors, Chad, and fight him and kill him finally. And you can bring back, like, a Patricia Arquette, who was one of the survivors from the original movie. She was, like, the main character for that film, other than Nancy, who does die. So that's kind of like my idea of it, where you do, the Waking Dreams and then the Dream War. Yeah. I sent you a screenshot of my micro pixel art on Xbox of Squid Games. Working on this week of Discord. It's in a TV show. Woo! I'll check it out. Have I seen the Ghoulies? No, I'm not familiar with the Ghoulies. I have that. You're freaking me out. Please write this movie. Thank you. No, I've had a lot of kind words about that. I want to maybe do a draft or at least like an outline. Because I got to get the nitty gritty details in there too. Exactly. Well, went through the sleep paralysis after I had my daughter. Oh, really? God. I'm sorry you go through that because I know that is super, super scary. But I think that's just like an interesting thing that like that's how you can approach the Nightmare franchise in a new way by something that a lot of people deal with. Doesn't it like 1 out of 10 people have sleep paralysis or something? It's like high, isn't it? I've never experienced that. And so I would love to talk to people like, what did you, that would be really cool. Like if I were to actually write this script, chat, like I would like, what have you seen? You know, what have you experienced? What thing, I mean, were there scenarios? Were there individuals? Was there like a creature that you saw? That's what I like really need. Because I think like I have my initial idea for the sleep paralysis. I have my initial idea for a Freddy, what he would be in the first one. But I want to do different scenes with him. Maybe as different people or whatever. Dying Dreams feels very realistic. I've experienced more than I've done it where I've fallen. I wake yourself up like that, and you're like, oh, I think it'd be really cool. Yeah. I would. Ghoulie says stupid horror movie you should watch, like a long bad episode of Goose. I check it out, man. I love bad horror movies. They're so much fun. Probably good for a review or a full length video and audio commentary. But yeah, if you guys have any, I don't know if you want to send me. I mean, again, this is your stuff. But if you want to send me like what you guys may have gone through with sleep paralysis, let me know. If I use it for inspiration, and I can credit you. Cool. I died in a dream and just stare at my dead body like a video game. Ooh, shit. I have vivid dreams, but people in my dreams laugh at me about thinking I'm dreaming. Oh, interesting. They're like, ha ha, like that in the dream. It's like, you're not wearing any pants. Yeah. Let me go ahead, chat, and get on the Discord, because I want to see the stuff. What do we got? We got this Squid Game created by Zodi. I'll take a look. Then we're going to switch over to some Resident Evil Village chat. We're going to have some fun. Oh, that's fucking awesome. You did this in Minecraft? Oh, I'm sorry. Finished my pixel art for Squid. I read Minecraft by accident. Oh, no. I sent you a screenshot of my Minecraft pixel art on Xbox of Squid Games. I've been working on this a week at Discord. That's fucking nuts, man. That looks fantastic. I'll check this out. It's the North, what's her name? The North Korean girl. 67, right? Yeah, oh, look at this. This looks cool. There's me, chat. I love it, man. It looks really good. You're a talented son of a bee, Zodi. I love it, chat. Yeah, she's a great character. Very good character. There you go, chat. Oh, I wanted to show you. Yeah, now I know what I wanted to do. I was like, what was the thing I wanted to do? I wanted to show you the Prometheus trailer. Let me go ahead. What was the original trailer? Is it this one? I guess it was this one. Yes. Let me show you this one, Chad. The marketing for this movie was excellent. I really, really loved it, which was incredibly creepy. Thank you, Vandy, for the 100 bits. I donate bits as only Manaville Man can. Thank you, sir. Just want to show people the Prometheus trailer. Did a review for it tonight. Give people an idea of what I'm talking about. And just showing that the marketing for the movie was excellent. It was very, very good. Oh, Lord. Who was the worst runner? Charlize Theron in Prometheus or Ezra Miller, Flash, and Justice League? Listen, Flash has a goofy run, but I got to go with Charlize Theron. I mean, she fucking got smushed by a donut. She got smushed by a giant metal donut. So, yeah, the sound effect. I love that. So creepy. But there you go, chat. Prometheus. Hope you enjoyed the review. We're going to go ahead and switch on over to some Resident Evil Village in just a second. Before I do so, chat, let me go ahead and switch over a couple wires. In the meantime, look upon the big head. It's like an Easter Island head, chat. Except evil.